Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I'm going to cover Spider-Woman issues 15 and 16, published in 1979 by Marvel Comics. Anyone who watches the show knows I love Spider-Woman, love her costume, her background, her power set. She's just a really cool character. I feel ultimately in the early 80s she was ill-used and shuffled off prematurely by Marvel. In the pages of Avengers, I've talked about that on the show before. Roger Stern was responsible. Incidentally, he is editing these two issues, and the author of these two issues is Mark Gruenwald. He was the editor of Avengers when Spider-Woman was unceremoniously dumped into the Marvel dustbin. But we're going to focus on these two cool issues. One watcher in particular was interested in me covering some more Spider-Woman. I love Spider-Woman, so what the hell, let's do it. So we're going to move on here, starting with issue 15, Death Cult, guest starring The Shroud. And incidentally, one of the reasons I chose these two issues are the 50-issue run, because I've covered one other issue of Spider-Woman prior to this. It was a later one, I believe, in the 25 to 30 range of the series. I forget which one, but it had awesome Steve Leialoha artwork. One of the reasons I chose these two issues was they were a linked story involving the Shroud and Necra, who are two of my favorite sort of lesser Marvel characters. One a hero, the Shroud, or maybe he's an anti-hero, and the other clearly a villain in Necra. Our title is Into the Heart of Darkness. Our creative crew, Mark Gruenwald script, Carmine Infantino pencils, Al Gordon inks, Joe Rosen letters, Ben Shawn colors, Roger Stern editor, Jim Shooter consultant. It's been one of those nights. For the past 6 hours, the Spider-Woman has pursued what amounted to a blind lead in hopes of finding the murder cult apparently menacing her employer's life. Returning home exhausted and disheartened, she wants nothing more than a warm shower and a few hours' sleep. She does not want a masked visitor waiting outside her bathroom. Good evening, Jessica Drew. I am the Shroud. I need your help as the Spider-Woman. It's the man I fought at the clinic. Somehow he's learned who I really am. And that was in issue 13, so the previous two previous issues from this one. Well, I'm not going to let him think he has me at a disadvantage. No need for modesty, Miss Drew. I'm blind. And the Shroud goes on for the next couple pages, brilliantly rendered here by our art team, to recount key elements of his origin for folks who haven't encountered him in a while or never encountered him. By fleeing in panic, I had failed the priests, so they hid themselves from my awareness. Undaunted, I decided to try my hand at the superhero game. For you see, when I regained my senses, I realized they had been enhanced. I could mentally perceive the essential nature of things around me, despite the fact I could no longer see. But after I washed out as a hero, I became somewhat disillusioned and just drifted for a while, till I came upon a cult of Kali worshippers in New York. So he tangles with them, he tracks them back to LA, and eventually, from their attack on Jessica Drew's employer's offices, he tracks them to their base. Sure enough, that's where I wound up. I lurked about all day yesterday, hoping to learn who their leader was. Finally, I got impatient and left. I did, however, hear them mention that spy organization, S.H.I.E.L.D. And since I knew where to find them now, I decided to first follow up on the S.H.I.E.L.D. connection and you. Last night, I followed you home from work. So he is basically engaging in a quid pro quo with Jessica Drew / Spider-Woman. He wants to trade her knowledge of S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ so he can get in there and find out key information on this cult and if it has a connection to the cult that gave him his powers. And in return, he'll reveal the location of this death cult's base so they can put a stop to their murderous activities. She agrees. They basically go infiltrate this S.H.I.E.L.D. base, even going so far as to stunning one of the agents on duty here. The Shroud envelops them in his darkness. And interestingly, these characters, Spider-Woman and the Shroud, kind of develop a sort of playful relationship as the story winds on. Despite his cockiness, I can't help being the least bit attracted to this Shroud character. I just hope I don't run into my favorite S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, Jerry Hunt. I haven't heard from him in weeks, but he may still be in LA. And in fact, Jessica, he is, and we're going to see that here as we get an interlude with Jerry Hunt back at Spider-Woman's place of work, investigating the attack that had just occurred there by this self-same death cult. We have this mysterious individual who will be revealed as the cult's leader. She orders the abduction and eventual death of these two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They've already nabbed others. Meanwhile, in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s record center, it still seems strange that you were able to program the computer, but you can't read the information it gives. Never mind that. Just do the research while I keep my senses tuned for trouble. So, Spider-Woman finds out what the Shroud needs to know. Also musing on her past service with Hydra, which is a cool callback to her origin in Marvel Spotlight 32, and then the Marvel 2-in-1, 30 to 32. Those are some great stories. And the two leave the S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, but they almost become trapped. But here, Spider-Woman gets to display some of her prodigious powers. You didn't tell me you were that strong. So they escape. She's excellent long panel here with her climbing, with Shroud hanging on. I'll take this moment to comment on the art. I'm not a huge fan of Carmine Infantino at this stage in his career. I've said that before, but I think it works in these two issues with the Al Gordon inks. They're a good team. They do a good job telling the story. The figure work is nice, if a bit simple. And I have no real complaints here. Would I have liked to see Steve Leialoha on this issue? Even inking Carmine, that would have been great. Or Leialoha penciling and Al Gordon inking, that would have been even better. But we have what we have, and it works pretty well. Now we're about to see Jerry Hunt and his S.H.I.E.L.D. companion are going to be ambushed. And that will actually happen off panel as we get back to our main protagonist here. Nightfall delivers crimson and ebony denizens of darkness to an area of land in northern Glendale. Is this some kind of joke, Shroud? Are murder cult's headquarters in a cemetery? That mausoleum is the entrance to their subterranean stronghold. Well, at least we don't have to credit our assassins with imagination. I just hope we're in time to catch them before they go out. Don't worry. Have I ever let you down? You go first. Still don't trust me after all we've been through? A mere turn of this sarcophagus, and there you see a secret stairway. I'll still go first if you insist. So I love the use of color here, or lack of color, the spotting of the blacks to show the darkened chamber. Really nice. Cool house ads here for Shogun Warriors and the Micronauts. Love it. And this is a great establishing panel here on page 21. Very awesome. Down the stone stairwell creep the Dark Avengers, emerging finally in a dank chamber beneath the earth, dominated by a leering idol. So no one's home right now. There's no ceremony going on. The Shroud assures Spider-Woman they'll be back, the cultists that is. So they wait, hiding behind the idol. For over an hour, the Shroud attempts to disperse his partner's gloomy preoccupations. Finally, hold it, I sense people at this outer entrance. In a solemn procession, scores of cultists file into the sanctuary bearing two bound bodies. Without a word, they place their captives on the altar as a dark-robed figure strides imperiously to the front of the congregation. O Kali, dark and terrible in aspect, bestower of blissful oblivion, goddess of incarnate death and the cosmic balance, we, your devoted supplicants, sacrifice these lives in your name. And of course, our heroes will not allow that. Like avenging angels, they leap from behind the idol. Get the drop on them before they can draw their knives. I'll take care of their high muck-a-muck with a venom blast. Too bad I don't have enough venom to go around. I'll have to do this the hard way. Slay her. Her again? Kill her in Kali's name. Ah, it takes more than 5 of them to keep a woman down. So yeah, she's showing off her strength here. She can, according to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, lift press about 7 tons. So she is a powerhouse of a fighter with also superhuman agility. Nearby, though I've grown accustomed to fighting enemies who can't see me, an occasional fight against ridiculous odds keeps the fighting skills nicely honed. But then again, nothing beats a little sleight of hand and cape. So really great use of the Shroud's darkness power and his costume here to dispatch these 2 cultists. When I knock you down, you better stay down. Nice work. In a matter of minutes, the improvised ballet of battle is over, and only 2 people in the cavern remain standing for the final bows. A thorough job, wouldn't you say? Almost. I do not sense the presence of the cult's leader. She must have escaped during the melee. But I gave her a full blast of venom. Well, you bind the cultists, and I'll see to their intended victims. So put a pin in that, because who could survive a full blast of venom from Spider-Woman at this point? We're going to see in the next issue. But Spider-Woman suspects that this prisoner was Jerry Hunt. Her intuition tells her, and in fact, it is revealed that it is him. So they bind the cultists, leave the SHIELD agents to awaken and find them. And these 2 are going to part ways friends. Well, I helped you get off the wrong track in your quest for your mentors. And you helped me capture all but one of the people who were jeopardizing my job. Guess that makes us even. Not quite. I still owe you one for clouding me in the clinic. But that's a matter for another night. See you in the dark, babe. A fade out, how typically melodramatic. What a day this has been. I must admit I enjoyed the Shroud's company despite the circumstances. He sparked a sense of whimsy in me I'd never known with Jerry. Jerry, seeing him again felt strange. It's like I betrayed him in a way for my lack of feeling for him. I wonder. And now we get our big reveal here for next issue. Curse her. Curse her. If I hadn't recovered when I did, I too would have been taken captive. She will pay for this when she's outlived her usefulness. For while I know that Jessica Drew is the Spider-Woman, she hasn't an inkling that her employer, Adrian Hatros, is really Necra, priestess of darkness. So, awesome cliffhanger of sorts for our ending. We have our letter page, aptly named Venom Blast. We have letters from Ed Villa, Danny M. Davids, Jeffrey Lounders, and Chris Davis. I'll just briefly read a snippet from Chris Davis's letter. I like the feature page in Spider-Woman number 11 about her powers, but it raises a few questions. First, how come her immunity to gas has never been shown since the Spotlight issue of Spider-Woman? Second, why did you leave out the power of hypnotism that she was shown to have in Spider-Woman number 2? Some good questions, Chris. When Mark and Al put together the page, they thought they knew all the answers too. Now let's see. Her immunity to gases and other poisons has not been shown in the prior issues of this magazine because Spider-Woman becomes immune only after being exposed to a given toxin once. 2. What seemed to be the power of hypnotism was actually just an excessive reaction to Jessica's ability to inspire fear. And that's actually going to come up in the next issue. So let's get to the next issue here. 15 was a lot of fun. The cover artist of 15 was not credited that I could see, but this one we have a great Bill Sienkiewicz, Joe Rubinstein cover, which is really thematic and cool. What a great battle scene. All you need is hate. And the cover blurb is the same as our title. All you need is hate. And we have our team, Mark Grunwald, Carmine Infantino and Al Gordon, John Costanza, Ben Sean Colors, Roger Stern editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. So Spider-Woman returns back. Love the splash page showing off that awesome costume. After her night out with the Shroud battling evil, she barely makes it to work in time that next morning. The Hatros Institute, where she is a receptionist. It's some kind of bio research facility, medical bio research. And here, her immediate boss, Dr. Lehman, I'm sorry I'm so late. I overslept. There you are, Jessica. You had us worried out sick yesterday. And no answer at your home this morning. You've had a good attendance record, so we can allow for a few lapses, I guess. It won't happen again, sir. Come with me, Jessica. Ms. Florio will be filling in for you today. We have a specialist from Stanford at the clinic today. He's heard about your problem and wants to run some tests on you. So the problem, in essence, is it's been a sort of a running subplot since the series began is Spider-Woman can inspire fear in those around her. That was like they were using that tagline, to know her is to fear her. She can also inspire desire among certain male individuals she comes in contact with. So she's trying to get a handle and understand why she is able to do this and how to control it or tamp it down, because it's really hurting her social life. And this doctor kind of boils it down for her. When Lehman brought your case to my attention, I surmised that your problem stemmed from pheromones. Pheromones? Chemical compounds secreted by various organisms that deliver subliminal messages to others of the same species through smell. The behavior of insects, for example, is largely governed by pheromones. Insects? Then it must be the spider blood in me producing these pheromones. Even though spiders aren't insects, they're arachnids, but that's neither here nor there. Why do some people pick up this subliminal scent more so than others? Good question. Dr. Lehman has been analyzing your interactions with others in therapy, and we've come up with this. It appears to be sex-linked. Most men pick up on the two messages your body transmits, allure and alarm. So some men are really galvanized by her allure, but most women are just alarmed by it. And so that is creating the problems, and he purports to have a medicine that he can prescribe her to help her. So we're going to leave that off from there. And meanwhile, back at SHIELD headquarters, Jerry Hunt trying to question the captured cultists from that last issue, and they're not really getting very far. We put up a good fight, but they outnumbered us. When we came to, we found ourselves in a temple beneath a mausoleum, and all 25 of these buggers taken out and bound. Sounds to me like you two have a guardian angel. Yeah, and I can guess who she is. So Jerry knows that Spider-Woman once again bailed him out. So I forgot to mention earlier that Jessica was invited to a party at her boss's house that night, or Friday night. So she shows up at this beautiful LA mansion, all gussied up, and she finds that no one else is there. Dr. Lehman told me the entire staff would be here. I'll take a look around. Maybe everyone's in the backyard and I don't hear anyone, but empty. I certainly don't have much luck with parties. Taking a nervous look through the many rooms of the first floor, Jessica is about to leave when, nice of you to attend my little party, Miss Drew. I am your hostess, Adrian Hatros, but you may call me Necra. So here we get a wonderful, and I love this panel showing Necra. This is just beautiful. I love the look of this character. These two panels bounding her long origin sequence is really cool. Not going to read the whole thing, but she was born a mutant, originally encountered the Mandrill, who's another mutant. He actually sort of sinisterly used his power over women to influence her. Essentially, the core of Necra's ability, she's like a miniature mutant Hulk. The angrier she gets, the more hatred she feels, the more powerful she becomes. It translates into physical strength, speed, resistance to injury. As we can see here, after she leaves the Mandrill's partnership, after he abandoned her, she's captured, but she builds up enough hatred to escape and eventually takes over this death cult and moves them out to LA. With the devotee's thrust, Necra assumed the identity of Adrian Hatros, the reclusive widow of the founder of the Clinic for Emotional Research. In this guise, she could channel the clinic's resources into the study of hate, for hate was not only the emotion that gave Necra strength, it was the only emotion she could feel except for twice in her life, once when she met the mandrill. And now, as she faces the woman at the bottom of the stairs. So again, Spider-Woman's pheromone powers are working here. So we meet at last, my dear Jessica. Does my appearance startle you? That's no way to treat your employer. I was not told this was a masquerade party. You must mean my formal attire. I thought the occasion warranted it. What occasion? A discussion of your future, perhaps we could say. You must have wondered why we hired you. Certainly wasn't for your secretarial skills or your appearance. I want to hire you so that we could study your unique metabolism. And here you can see her popping a pill. So the connection that Spider-Woman has, her powers have to the mandrills, led Necra and her team to develop an antidote to that power. So Necra pops a pill that is that antidote, and so we're now about to get a pretty good fight between our two characters. She knows, of course, that Jessica is Spider-Woman. What? Then she knows? But how? Even if she can detect my pheromones, whatever garb I'm in, when could she have seen me as the Spider-Woman? Well, I must battle that mad woman. I may as well do it in my fighting suit. Don't tell me you're trying to hide from me in my own house. I could tear down that door like it were tissue. And as if on cue, Spider-Woman does just that. And we get a pretty awesome fracas here between the two. Very well choreographed fight scene between these two super powerful ladies. But it is only fitting that you die in the same garb you wore when you stole my cultists from me. The Necra was the cult's leader who escaped. It all fits now. The cultists were not at the clinic to kill anyone, but to report to her. If ever I needed my venom blast, it's now. My dear Jessica, haven't you realized my hate makes me invincible? So they tangle here in some excellent super action. Pretty great here. I can stick to walls and ceilings at will, using them to bound off like so. Maybe she can't be hurt, but I'm going to do my darndest to knock her out. Maybe a 20-foot drop onto a grand piano will do it. Or perhaps 1,000 pounds of falling glass. But before all the shards of the chandelier have even settled, Necra lifts herself from beneath the rubble and jerks her body defiantly up, sending the debris flying in 1,000 new directions. I cannot be hurt. Rolling to her feet amidst the broken glass, the Spider-Woman attempts to flee her frenzied foe. My wig! You're not getting away this time. What can I do? Nothing seems to stop her. And so the battle begins in earnest. And this might be my favorite panel in the two issues. It's totally great. I love how we have this square panel, takes up about 2/3 of the page, and against a relief of half of each of their visages in the background, we have the closing blows of the battle, which is really great. The two soon lose all track of time. They fight viciously, savagely, ferociously, Necra seething with dark hate, Jessica devoid of all feeling. Both know the arts of violence, both the price of defeat. Incessantly, they keep on, becoming almost as one in a desperate dance of death. Agony racks Jessica's whole being as an eternity crawls by, but still she keeps on blocking, punching, kicking. Gradually, Jessica loses her self-awareness, becoming like a machine gone berserk. So, incredible panel of here just ramming Necra's head off the ground. And ultimately, she realizes that she defeats Necra only because the pill she popped, where Necra popped, wears off. And so her hatred of Jessica Drew / Spider-Woman was neutralized by her active pheromones. So she calls the police and waits, and then she's recovering in her apartment in this epilogue. And we have an odd scene here where Jerry Hunt shows up. They've been estranged for some months. He shows up. He says he's going back to England to work for S.H.I.E.L.D. there, and he offers her to go with him. and she turns him down. I kind of thought that would be your answer. Well, it didn't hurt to ask, I guess. I'm going to miss you, Jesse. We had some good times. Jerry, you don't have to go right now. I get very lonely sometimes. I could use. I'm really not one for long goodbyes. I think it would be easier for us both if we just made a clean break. And he muses more on what happened, and she watches out the window as he gets in his sports car with the other SHIELD agent, and a little tear comes down at the end. And wow, really great two-part story here, 2 issues. Awesome heroes, awesome foes. We have another installment of the Venom Blast letters page. No notable letter writers. I'm not going to linger too long on it. But what a fun 2-part story here in Spider-Woman, which is a super underrated comic from Marvel's, I would say, late Bronze Age, early Copper Age, and really fun. I'm glad that I was kind of reminded that, hey, it's time to revisit Spider-Woman, and it was a good time to do it. And I hope you enjoyed it. I really do. And if you did, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. And I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.